Partnered by Times Influence.
Hello and welcome. We cannot imagine our lives without electricity, without power. In fact, we could not have reached you without it. And as a country, we are poised very interestingly when it comes to electricity. We generate much more than we consume, but paradoxically, there are millions of people in our rural villages who have yet to feel the magic of a glowing light bulb. And that brings us to our discussion and panel today. Elecrama presents Transforming Electricity. I have Mr. Anil Sardana. He is the CEO and the MD of Tata Power. Next to him, we have Mr. Vijay Karya. He's the CMD of the Ravan Group and the chairman of Elecrama. On my left, I have Mr. Sri Gopal Kabra. He is the president of IEEMA and he is the MD of RR Kabel. And next to him, we have Mr. Aditya Dhoot. He is the MD of IMP Powers. Gentlemen, thank you very much for being with us. We'll start with Mr. Kabra. Mr. Kabra, first of all, tell our viewers about Elecrama and what is it about and how will it impact that man who's waiting to feel the magic of the light bulb?
Elecrama is the biggest exhibition in the world for electrical product. Right from domestic electrical to utility, right from technology to innovation, each and every product will be showcased in Elecrama. And this year we got 1,12,000 square meter, means 12 lakh square feet exhibition. So this is in terms of exhibition also, this is the biggest exhibition in India. People are eagerly waiting to see Elecrama because this is the only platform where they can see the new product, new innovation, which all the companies showcase. And fortunately, like we have 1,300 exhibitors, out of that approximately 300 are from foreign countries. And who's who, right from SME, MSME to multinational, all the companies are here and we are expecting around 2 lakh visitors minimum.
Right. So, in our country, a village is considered electrified if 10% of the households have access to power. That means there is a huge population which is without electricity and without power. So, obviously, you know, it is a gloom-doom kind of a scenario, but that also means that there is a lot of opportunity for growth. So, can you point us out in that direction?
So, there is a lot of opportunity for growth. Like government has announced 4 crores electricity houses to electricity, and this is going to generate a big business for all of us. Like government is going to spend 16,000 crores to give connection to 40 million people, and when they will get the power, so they will buy say 1 fan, 1 light or power connections or cable, so that should be around another 60,000 crores business. So this we see immediately in next 2-3 years we will be getting this as a business. And as far as electricity consumption is increasing, it keep on increasing because everything which we are living today is what we are using today. It's a mobile, laptop, iPad, you name anything, is based on electricity. So there is a huge scope for India because India still is a growing economy and electrical products grows double than the GDP. This is general average.
Right. Okay. I'm going to come to you now, Mr. Sardana. You know, while we have all of those villages, people who are still waiting to, you know, have that light bulb in their homes, we are also advancing towards e-mobility. And many companies, including group companies of yours, have, spoken about forays into electric vehicles. But on the road, is there demand for it, or are we waiting to create it? Because the government has a mission that by 2030 they want 100% e-vehicles.
Yeah, so just to connect up with what you said, by 2030 incremental vehicles that will be made perhaps will be electric vehicles. You could assume that by the time about 30-40% total vehicles on the roads could be electric vehicles. This obviously is one aspect that we are very clear is going to take off quite quickly, though of course initially it will take time because it needs commensurate infrastructure in terms of charging of the battery sets, in terms of battery swap mechanism. If you take India as a country, it's geographically very wide, and therefore those who drive within the city have longer distances. Let's take an example. If a car which today has to house a battery typically can move with one charge about 120 kilometers. So if you have an airport which is about close to about 30 kilometers from the downtown or from working places, a taxi or a car could actually do 2 trips and will have to go and get a charge done, which is impractical because a normal charge takes anything like 6 hours. And if you have to do a quick charge, that actually reduces the life of the battery, so therefore per trip cost goes up. In those meaning, you have to therefore have either a battery swap mechanism or mechanism by virtue of which you will have means for the cars to sort of go into the parking lot, get into charging, and some other car will then appear, which will mean that per trip cost will increase. So India as a country has to have a very different equation compared to the European countries and many other countries which have smaller geographies and perhaps therefore ease of infrastructure. The focus therefore will be on building the infrastructure, and I guess that's exactly the talk that's unfolding at this stage, and that, according to me, will ultimately determine how fast we can actually ramp up the number of vehicles that will happen. So we talked about today mobility in reference to normal customer.
Yes.
But when we talk about electric mobility or electric vehicles with regard to commercial ones, including buses, there it's much easier because there you can actually make sure that the government-owned buses and the other buses could adapt that. There are lots of exactly. There are lots of colonies where you find the colonizers are talking about converting all the vehicles to electric buses, because within the setup you can easily charge them and you can easily make sure that it's all green, including the fact that as a group the discussions with the government are, you give us the holistic concept of running electric vehicles on per kilometer basis or any other model that you consider as right, and we will provide vehicle, we will provide charging mechanism, and we will make sure that everything that goes along with that will be done in an immaculate way so that there is a complete solution that the customer sees. So I guess that will unfold, and these are exciting times because this is bound to happen, except for the fact that in terms of larger volume, it's going to be like a hockey stick, and once you have the volumes go beyond a particular number, then it'll just ramp up very fast.
Right. So I just want to draw your attention to a recent news item which says where the road transport minister has said that there won't be a separate policy for now on electric vehicles. How will that impinge on your sector? What does that do to policies that you have to create with the help of the government to ensure that peripheral infrastructure is in place?
As far as the electricity sector is concerned, charging mechanism that's needed, or the battery charging concept that we are talking about for electric mobility, is like any other device. Like you plug in an air conditioner, you plug in a charger. Today also homes have inverters, and by the way, a charger is nothing different than an inverter because you charge battery at home. So therefore you don't need a policy per se, unless the regulators of managing the state distribution companies want to give a distinct tariff to the distribution companies just to promote, so that the per vehicle charge or per kilometer charge ultimately becomes more competitive. So it will become a subsidized sector, like the way the residential customers are subsidized. But I guess you don't need a policy change. Today the Electricity Act or the various governance mechanisms provide for it, and therefore if there is no change made, you could still have the entire electric mobility pushed by giving opportunity to the producers by saying, okay, I'm giving you this city, you run the buses, make sure that all the 3-wheelers, all the 4-wheelers are gradually converted. I guess it's a doable stuff.
It's doable. You want to weigh in on this?
Yes, I think one of the points that you made is that how does that impact the sector?
Yes.
And if you look at it, anything that is converting to electricity is going to increase the consumption of electricity in the country. So therefore, even not the fullest of push, that means not all vehicles by 2030, but a certain percentage of vehicles, is going to exponentially increase the volume of electrical consumption.
Increased demand for your sector.
Increased demand for the sector, plus economy is growing, plus our per capita consumption of electricity in the country is one of the low in the world. So anything here onwards is going to only positively impact the segment.
It's an incremental change for...
Yes, and I think that incremental change is going to be exponential because A, we are talking about increased consumption by way of additional villages or households not electrified, as Mr. Kabra said. As Mr. Sardana says, that if 30 to 40% of the vehicles are electrical vehicles, that means that cost amounts for a lot more of electricity consumption. The biggest factor is that this then brings down our oil import bill, which is today $100 billion. So if we are able to reduce our oil imports by at least another 20 to 30%, it has a very positive impact on the finances of the country and on the business as a whole, and more money is then retained within the country, as well as a thrust on renewable energy will not just increase the electricity output, but it also means that you don't have to burn fossil fuels for it. So environmentally, it'll help the country in terms of decreased consumption of fossil fuels, in terms of decreased imports. Plus, the important thing in India is that we don't have to really dismantle infrastructure to build this new infrastructure. In the foreign countries, they would have to dismantle a lot of existing infrastructure.
Which brings me to my next question. You're hoping that technology will leapfrog India into this age of e-mobility, into electricity, where it really empowers and has a positive impact on all our lives. Can you tell us a little bit about the e-Next pavilion that you're going to have at Electrama?
So first of all, let me clarify, I'm not hoping that technology is going to leapfrog. I'm sure it's going to leapfrog. E-Tech Next pavilion at Electrama has its focus on 4 main areas, that is digital delivery of power, IoT, IIoT, and artificial intelligence and electricity. The third area is storage systems, and the fourth area is e-transportation. We believe that these 4 areas are really going to be the transformational activities for the electrical segment, and we are going to see a lot of technology coming into these areas. We are going to see a lot of demand coming into these areas, and we are going to see a lot of startups in these areas. Plus, we see that the silos in which the electrical industry operated so far are actually disappearing. The electrical industry is now conjoined with the electronics industry. So NASSCOM is also part of us. The mobility, the vehicles are now merging into the electrical industry because we can't do without each other. If we have to have e-transportation, they cannot do without electricity, and for us also for our demand purposes we require them. So these industry-based silos are slowly disappearing, and that's something very positive for the country. Also, we are trying to showcase in the E-Tech Next pavilion technologies of 10, 20 and 30 years hence. We are going to show how it is going to impact humans, and we are having an immersive experience where you can feel it. So I don't want to reveal too much at the moment, but it's a must see.
You mentioned about the startups which are coming into the sector. They're bringing with them a lot of innovation, but do they have a level playing field when it comes to the sector? And aren't there challenges for them?
You see, unfortunately, in India, we do not have a culture of innovation, and we do not have a risk-taking culture. We are very risk-averse people because basically by nature, we are conservative in nature. Our parents have always taught us to save for tomorrow. Therefore, capital needs to be saved for tomorrow. Technology should be hoarded within us. So therefore, a lot of companies of the old times have refused to share those technologies or even let it outside their companies. All these silos are again disappearing. Because today when we are talking about the internet, everything is becoming open. There is nothing which is remaining secretive. R&D is growing by leaps and bounds. So today the companies know what their competition is doing at the same time that the competition is doing it. So these startups and these youngsters who are coming into this field, which were not here earlier, the problem is that this electrical industry did not see too many engineers coming in because people preferred to go into the IT segment. They preferred to get into the more high profile segment where they could sit in air conditioned cabins and do their work. So we lost out on a lot of such engineering talent, which now is coming back. And I'm happy that these startups are now getting their hands dirty in the field, doing so many of the things which should have been done much earlier. But we started off this culture. In Elecrama, we are having for the first time startup awards being instituted, and I'm pretty sure that this continuing trend will attract more and more talent in this industry.
We'll take a short break right now. There's much more on the other side. Welcome back to Elecrama Presents Transforming Electricity. Mr. Dhoot, they've spoken about technology, we've spoken about e-mobility, but there is a deep problem within the power sector, and that has to do especially when it comes to the woes that plague the sector, when it comes to meter tampering, power theft, and what in your language is known as aggregate commercial and technical losses. For the industry, how grave is this situation?
Before I say for the industry, it's a national problem according to me. I personally believe that this problem we've started sensitizing in the last 2-3 years only. For a utility, the only way to earn money is selling power. So from the high 40s, as you spoke about the AT&C losses, and when we speak about AT&C losses, it's called technical and commercial. So the technical is the distribution transmission losses. The commercial is where the power theft or the overloading comes. We've come down to in the 20s, 20% or 22, 23%. But now every state, in the last election, there was a very heartwarming thing that none of the parties spoke about free power. So each state has realized that it's no longer roti, kapda or makan, it's roti, kapda, bijli or makan. And that's something which is very heartwarming for us. My colleagues here spoke about technology and leapfrogging. Same thing is happening in the equipment side also. So there are, you got to take out all the obsolete and the old technology equipment, which many of the states have started doing it. We are having metering smart, not only metering, smart metering. And it's not only about compulsory 100% metering, it's also about, say, a transformer. A transformer can be smart. These days with IoT of things, everything can be transmitted back. So we have the SCADA systems coming out. One problem is knowing how to plug these losses, but the bigger problem is knowing where these losses are. At Elecrama, again, you'll get to see how they are all focusing on power theft. There, every equipment, either saving power or power theft, is focused on that. So that now, with the will, comes the wave of technology that companies are investing, not only the multinationals, the MNCs, but the MSMEs are also putting a lot of effort that for the next 10-20 years, this is how it's going to be.
Mr. Sardana, how important are forums like Elecrama, not just for the sector, but for India?
Well, as we know, the Elecrama is a flagship event of the Manufacturers Association. It's the EMA body which has been doing this for quite a number of years. And now they've scaled it up. And they have now not just got the Indian manufacturers, the products at display are also of international product suppliers. And this time there's going to be a lot of utility participation, and that's at a global scale. So it's wonderful in terms of not just the key stakeholders who come and network, but it's also for the students, it's also for a lot of customers who can actually view things for themselves. Therefore, such like forums provide tremendous insights to all the stakeholders, and therefore it has tremendous importance in the sector.
Mr. Karya, we are going to sum up now. With everything that we've discussed today, with the challenges that we face, with so much to look forward to, how attractive is the India story when it comes to the power sector?
I think India as a whole story is very attractive, especially this power sector. I say almost every day that the word energy is getting replaced with the word electricity, and therefore the electrical segment looks to be attractive. It's on the cusp of a technological wave. It's a lot of people are looking to invest into this segment. This segment has been deprived traditionally of R&D. It has been deprived of technology because of extreme competition on one side, because of the L1 policies of purchase on the other side, where a lot of theft even in the specifications of the equipments were taking place. I hope the government is able to set up some policies to address this issue, because what needs to be looked at is the life cycle cost of assets and not just the cost of purchase of those assets. But on the whole, technology, youngsters coming in, India being a young nation, the youngsters are not looking at the past, they're not looking over their shoulders, they're looking at the future. We have the world in front of us, and very interestingly, during Ilakrama, we also have the World Utility Summit happening, which is a congregation of the top utilities from across the world to discuss problems and to try and address problems, especially of the Indian subcontinent and the Asian countries. So exciting times ahead. I for one can see that if the three pillars which we say, one is the technology pillar, that means technologies are set together along with the government and industry. The stability of demand and the stability of policy, if these three pillars are met, I see a very, very exciting decade ahead for this industry, and I am pretty sure that everybody concerned with this industry is very gung-ho and very anticipative about being part of this industry.
That brings us to the end of this very power-packed session and a very nice panel. Thank you very much, gentlemen. There is a lot more to come, so keep watching this space for more.
Partnered by Times Influence.